Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Georgette Truen. Um, I work for Attorney Vincent Davis, and I have my beautiful co-hosting with me, Stacy. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Miss G.
Okay, so Stacy has some important information that she received from New York. So, Stacy, please tell us about it.
Miss G, your camera's kind of low. We only see the top of your head.
Because I'm short and my phone is on a magnet in the car because I had an appointment to go to. So I can't do anything about it. This is it. This is the lowest I can get it to go.
Well, it is what it is, Miss G. We love you.
I love you too.
All right. So, yesterday, I didn't even get to watch the whole thing because at first I got so frustrated I couldn't listen to it. Um, oh boy, hold on.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, yeah. Pesky cops.
I know.
Anyways, um, so um, I love cops. I love good cops. Anyway, um, so there was a hearing on family court before the Senate in New York State yesterday, and I was so frustrated at first I wasn't able to listen to much of it because they did the same crying they always do. We need more money. There's not enough judges. This terrible system needs to be made bigger and given more money. You know,
Hmm.
so so it was incredibly frustrating to hear that whining at first because that's what they always say, and more money and making them bigger doesn't ever make a dysfunctional system better. It makes it bigger and more dysfunctional. So so then when I went back on and I watched it some more, they had the, I don't know, whoever is the for the Office of Court Administration in New York come on, and
Hmm.
she says no, the funding is actually quite robust, was her word. And she said that there's 800 million in funds for people to have assigned counsel and so forth, that basically they're not hurting for money, yet the system is so dysfunctional. And um, and what was amazing to me was the word dehumanizing was used throughout the hearing. The family court in New York State has a dehumanizing culture towards the litigants.
What?
Yes, it was a spanking, Miss G. And as much as the spanking was, no media is reporting on this. Our own New York State Senate held this hearing. It was a spanking towards family court, and no media is really covering on it except you, Miss G, and Mr.
See?
Davis.
Yep.
And there was one reporter, Blaze Gomez, which I have to give her credit that she did report on it, but it was like such a tiptoeing piece. And her headline was this emotional hearing was held, and that it was special. It was special. And, and I said to her, I said, Blaze, that's like you just invited everyone to a birthday party.
Yeah.
And I was like, this was a spanking. This was like a scathing hearing against family court in New York State. So, but I'm still going to give her credit where credit is due, because at least she was brave enough to tiptoe where nobody else would really report.
Right.
So, you know, so but but the reality of the situation is still information is not being released to the public by the media about how bad this is and what is really being said, because it wasn't, an emotional outpouring of this special hearing. This was a scathing spanking of the family court system. And one of the, we talk about court watching.
Uh oh. Here you go. What were you saying about court watching? Can't hear you.
So,
What were you saying?
yeah, so we talk about court watching sometimes, and this was mentioned in the Senate hearing, and the senators were upset that if public ever gets denied their right of access to the family courts. And the one senator, I think his last name is spelled Liu, he said that as an elected public official, he tried to go to family court and they tried to obstruct his First Amendment right of public access to the courts. And he was mad. And he asked the New York City administrator judge, family court judge, if she is willing to accept court watchers in the courtrooms, and she said yes. And he said, well, have you spread around any sort of memorandum to all these judges in New York State and these administrators that court watching in the courts are open to the public? He wanted to ensure that. So that was I felt that was a really positive conveyance there, because a lot of time these hearings, no matter how much like of a spanking they are, nothing ever comes of them. But just recognize the public's right of access to the courts to court watch family court proceedings, just to recognize it publicly, I think is huge. Having done court watching for a couple of years now, they do try to squirrel out, slither out of the public watching. They'll change it. Oh, this is just, they'll say this is just a conference. So it doesn't, court watchers don't apply to conferences, or they'll try and switch from virtual to public to, or in person to virtual, all sorts of things. Or people will go on virtually and they'll like, oh, there was an IT problem, we couldn't let you in, or they make all these excuses. But just to confirm the right of public access to our courts by our senators in a hearing, I think that is pretty huge. And, Ms. G, I think that helps other states like California or what have you, to recognize, because we all operate under the same supreme law of the land, the same United States federal Constitution, and our First Amendment right of public access to the courts. Every state operates under that same Constitution and that right, that people have the right of access to the courts. And they went on to say they got the judges to admit that the only reason they should be sending anyone out really is if the parties object. But even still,
you said if the parties what?
Object to court watchers. But still, the thing is like we had that case with the New York Times. They were coming in to watch a CPS case as the media, and CPS objected to the presence of court watchers, but the opposition, the families that were against CPS, that party wanted the court watchers to be there, and the judge ruled that the media can stay and watch and report on the hearing, but they weren't allowed to publish the children's names, was all. So, so it's really important the other states again follow, and that the public asserts their First Amendment right to watch what's going on in family court. So that was to me a positive, when initially I had a hard time stomaching the meeting and everyone crying about not having enough money or not having enough judges. They even went on to ask if family courts ever open on weekends for emergency restraining orders.
My God.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, so I just found that was kind of interesting, like that the judges were also being told that they need to make themselves more available for emergencies.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, they complained that they need court officers and everyone around and blah, blah, blah. But there are, I'm a medical professional. There are many parallels between the law and medicine. And we have on-call physicians.
Yep.
And you don't need to open up the office for that. We have virtual hearings now.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly. So, what about the color of law? We were supposed to talk about that in the last show, but you had something to do that was emergency, and we were not
Yeah.
able to talk about it. So, when do you want to talk about the color of law tomorrow? For sure, God willing. Wait, today's not Friday, right?
Yeah. Today's,
Today,
yeah. Wait, no,
today's
today's
Thursday,
Thursday,
right?
Miss G.
Yeah. So yeah, tomorrow we can talk about the color of
Thursday.
law. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think I remember watching. I think it was from your show with Mr. Davis when I first learned about the color of law and the scandal that is with it.
Okay. Do you
Learning
want to
from
go
you
ahead
and
and
Mr.
tell the
Davis.
people? Do you want to go ahead and tell the people about who's going to be on the seminar this Saturday?
Oh, yeah, this is going to be big. Um, so I believe Mr. Davis himself, the master of ceremonies, right?
Hmm.
And Richard Ducote from Louisiana.
Who is
Um,
Richard Ducote?
Connie Reguli, I think it's Richard
Right, but
Ducote is
tell 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 the people who Richard is.
he's one of the nation's best child custody attorneys. When there's abuse allegations, and then they give the custody of the children to the abuser.
Yeah.
Um, he's been doing this for many years. There's been movies made about his representation. Um, children who go to public hearings and thank him for his representation and saving them from abuse. Um, he's been involved in many significant cases because he's been doing this for so long. He's very much regarded as an expert in the field, and he's licensed in many states.
He's licensed in California. He was in when I spoke to him. When I spoke to him, he was in a hearing in California, in L.A., downtown L.A. And I'm like, "Are
That what a
you
surprise!
kidding me, Richard?" Yep.
What a surprise that was, right?
I know. And he's like, "Man, I wish you would have called me yesterday. We would have gone to Starbucks or something."
Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking if he's not done with his case, you should court watch for his case.
That's what I was thinking.
You know.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to him on the seminar. So we're gonna have also attorney Michael from New York. I told him
Nice.
the firecracker of New York. Yeah.
We need
He's gonna,
firecrackers in this.
yeah, and he also fights CPS as well. He's gonna be in that seminar, and I'm so excited. And Connie is also gonna be in the seminar again, and attorney Seaver is gonna be in the seminar. Um, I forgot the other names of the attorney, but it's gonna be a big seminar, especially having Richard and Michael together as a. Oh my God, that's dynamic.
And then you and me, Miss G.
And
Don't
yes,
forget
you
you
and
and
me.
me.
Let's not forget you and me, Stacy. It's gonna be nice. So yeah. So I'm excited about Saturday. Really, I can't wait. I can't
Yeah.
wait to actually talk to Richard. Like me and you talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great. And Michael.
Yeah. Oh,
So
you know who? I'll tell you who Richard Ducote is. I'll tell you another thing about Richard Ducote. He you know that term parental alienation syndrome.
yes,
You know, and how they use that term to sex traffic kids to pedophiles.
yes, and let's use that term also to steal children from their mother
Yeah. So
and give them to the abuser. Correct.
Richard Ducote cross-examined that psychologist Richard Gardner who coined that fraudulent theory. And after Richard Ducote cross-examined Gardner, Gardner committed suicide
Oh
or was
my God.
murdered, one or the other, because because he was exposed as a fraud.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
That's one of Richard's feathers in his cap that he took that guy down.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Because that was so wrong what they did, and making the mothers look like they're brainwashing their children, coercing their children. That's just BS crap. It's just BS crap.
Yeah, well, Richard Gardner, yeah, he was a total fraud. He was lying to the courts that he had all these credentials that he didn't ever really have. And he was saying that he treated children, and he didn't. He didn't have hospital privileges for years.
And so Richard took on that case.
Yeah, and exposed him as a fraud. Mm-hmm.
When did this happen? What year? Do you remember?
Unfortunately, like, it wasn't that super long ago, but probably like in the past 10 or 15 years, I think it was.
So it was like in like 2000 what?
Yeah, the early 2000s, but the effects of that guy still live on. You know?
There's a lot of mothers lost custody because of him.
Yes.
A lot of mothers.
Yeah.
And the sad part about it is, no disrespect to men. I never put men down like that who are dads. Because like I said to you guys before, I love my father so much. And there are good men out there. There are good dads out there. But the fact that this man used nonsense to strip mothers away from custody is insane.
But you understand, like, Richard Gardner himself, his ex-wife, there were allegations that he sexually abused his own kids, and then he coined this whole theory.
Mm-hmm. There
and
you go.
His books are disgusting. And so whenever Richard is on a case that involves parental alienation syndrome or any other name for the same thing, they call it all other things like parental alienation without the syndrome, gatekeeping, all this bull. Whenever he's on a case that calls it a different name but does the same things, he brings in Gardner's books and he'll read them to the judge. And there's horrible things in there, like, Gardner published things saying things to the effect that children want to be sexually abused and they want to be having sex with pedophiles. Yes.
And do you know that the media, I don't know, that when in the media, I heard this recently where they're making it now okay if the child says, I want to have sex with an older man. And we cannot call this older guy a pedophile. We are not allowed to call him a pedophile. Did you know that? Did you hear that in the news?
Yep.
It was some demonic. It was some demonic party. You know who it is, saying that it's okay, for a girl to have sex with an older man.
It's all these people. It's really just a response to the Epstein flight list, if you ask me.
That's not right, Stacey. This is why our country is so. That's why our kids they're in the midst of corruption in ways that they're holding mothers captive. They can't talk. They can't say anything. Judges shut them down. And then when a pedophile opens his mouth, the judge is like, well, let me hear some more, Mr. So-and-so. Like, kind of like, really? You going to give this pedophile credit for being a pedophile? You can actually give him credit for that crap. That's what gets me.
Yeah.
That's how messed up the system is. Really, truly messed up. Yeah. Yep. Like, I went to the emergency room and I seen like a guy. Remember, I showed you the pictures of when I fell right on the ground.
Yeah.
And I went and I see this guy in a gun wound, bleeding to near death on the shoulder, and like people are like in pain, crying, waiting, and I'm like looking at the window. There's like, and nobody's there. Nobody's taking like information. Nobody's doing this. You know what I did? I walked away. I walked away because I couldn't, you can't even get help in the emergency room.
Right.
That's not right. And I see children. And then this child is crying, is like, I want my mommy. I think that child was with a foster parent or something.
Probably.
Yeah, she kept saying, I want my mommy. I don't want you. I want my mommy. You took my mommy. Yeah, like that. And that child was only 3 years old. It's like it just made me want to just cry. I'm telling you, Sissy, I have seen, God is exposing everyone now. Kids are starting to speak up. That was
Yep.
kids were like in the hush hush. Now they're starting to speak up and pushing away strangers. Like, you're
Right.
not my mommy.
Yep.
Where
Good.
is my mommy? That made me want to cry. I just kind of, it's
Yeah.
disgusting.
It
It's
is.
disgusting.
And then they go to church. Those people that are doing that to these children,
Yeah,
they say how wonderful they are because they accept foster children. But this is how
correct.
the foster children see them.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, they're telling these kids that it's okay, your mommy is bad. But these kids know mommy was not bad. These
They
kids
know.
know daddy was not bad. So if you're a mom and a dad and they're talking smack about your kids know you. Your kids
Yep.
know who you are. And no matter how many times they're going to tell your children that you never loved them and you never cared for them, the kids know different. Because I was thinking, when my mom knew I was sick, right? I didn't tell her I was sick, Stacy. It's a mother's instinct. She called me out of the blues, not out of the blues, she always calls me, but she called me that day and I was home from work. And I swear to you, I'm not joking. All I said is hello. She said, "You're sick, you have a fever. Why didn't you tell me?"
Aw.
My fever was 102.2. I will never forget that day. And I said, "Mom, how did you know? How did you know? I didn't want to worry you." She said, "I know you. I know when you're sick. Don't you understand that by now?" So when I saw that child pushing that lady away and hearing with her tears, I remembered my mother when she said, "I know you," meaning there's a connection, a bond
Right.
connection
And that's what
between
they want
you.
to. And that's what
Yeah,
they want
no,
to break.
exactly. And they break that bond connection. And guess what? I have the same feeling with my kids as well. My daughter didn't tell me she was not feeling good. I knew she wasn't feeling good. So there's a bond. There's a bond that connects you with your children, whether it's a boy or a girl. You
Yep.
know your children.
Yep.
Fathers don't have that type of bond. The father's job is to be the protector of the family. There is no bond between. It's like the bond that is a woman and a child face. This is
Right.
the bond I'm talking about.
Right.
So not I'm not trying to discredit dads. I love dads, but just to let you know that the way the woman feels about her child is way more severe than you could ever process. Especially when they steal her flesh and blood away from her, because they had that bond from conception. It's connected to the mother. The child is connected straight to the mom. That is a big deal. And every time I hear a child cry for their mom, I know it's a foster parent. I know for a fact it's a foster parent. So this alienation crap in court, saying the mother is alienating the child from the dad, this shit is this been happening. When did this happen? When Richard exposed them? Do you remember the year? Like maybe
Let
I,
me look. He
because I
actually
want to know, because I have witnessed children being stripped from moms because parental alienation crap since before 2012.
let me find you a couple things. I might go black on the screen, but I'm here with you. Or maybe I won't. I don't know. But let me just look real quick. Um, uh, um,
I'm here. I'm
I
just
can hear.
texting.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
not a good connection.
I don't think I can hear you, Stacy. But now I can't find my way back. That's sad. Okay. I don't like using my phone for nothing. This is crazy.
May
See?
25th. I know. Miss G, you there? Miss
Yeah.
G?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, suicide. Richard Garded suicide May 25th, 2003. So for 20 years, his bogus theory has outlived him. Are you there, Miss G?
Okay. I'm here. What did you
Okay.
say? May what?
May 25th, 2003.
See, I told you it's before 2012. Yeah. So before 2012, there was a lot of mothers that lost custody because the dad's attorney always comes up with parental alienation. Always comes up with that.
Yep.
And it worked in all family courts in Los Angeles County. I can't speak for anywhere else in the States, but in family court in Los Angeles County, it worked very well. And a lot of mothers lost custody. And a lot of that's why when I used to hear mothers always gain custody, no, they don't.
No, not for a
You know,
while.
yeah, fathers always lose. No, no, no. If you're the abuser, better believe it, you're gonna get your children. If you're non-abuser, father, dad, you're not gonna get your kids, nor your wife
Right.
will get it. Yeah,
They want the custody to go to the abuser. Yep.
yep. So it's sick, but I'm glad you brought that point up. I didn't know that he killed himself. I wonder why he
Yeah.
killed himself.
His autopsy is actually available online too. Um, so you can Google and look up Gardner's autopsy report, and it's really gruesome. He stabbed himself with a knife multiple times.
Ouch.
But the thing about that is it was ruled a suicide, but it seems maybe not when you look at the report, maybe if you want to look at it yourself or whatever, when you read it, it seems like it wasn't physiologically possible for all that to be a suicide. Like he was stabbing himself in the neck with a knife
That's
repeatedly.
not possible because you can't stab yourself. No, I'm sorry. No,
So yeah,
somebody stabbed him.
it
Somebody
was ruled
killed
a
him.
suicide, but it might be a murder. Yeah.
It might. I think it is a murder. They don't want to say it.
So, but yeah, that's publicly available. Um, Unfortunately, the screen does terrible things when I try. I do have my laptop here. Hold on one second. Because I'd love to read some of the things from Richard Gardner's book so people can understand how disgusting he is, but yet the corrupt family courts and so forth still allow Richard Gardner's bogus theories to be used.
Hmm. I don't know. Is it used until today? I can't remember if they stopped using it or they're still using it. I'm sure they're still using it because they're corrupt. You know what I mean?
Yes, right. They're corrupt. That's why they're using it. They're not using it because they genuinely believe in it. They use it to create a record that looks like it was justified to send kids to a pedophile, and they're using it for their sex trafficking purposes. And they
Right.
also use it because it makes men hate women and women hate men. And then when people are fighting back and forth, then the court system makes more money. And so they monetize off of it in two ways. Um, and
But
and the court would prefer men and women to fight amongst ourselves. And then that way they're distracted from paying attention to the fact that it's actually the family court that's doing all of this.
yeah, the family court is what puts the division together, and all they want is the separation of families. Just separate, have them fight, have them blah 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 blah, and that's exactly how it goes. And
Yeah.
we humans fall in the trap like a million times. We fall in that damn trap always.
Yeah. So I would, but yeah, I'd love to. I'm booting up my laptop here because I'd love to get and just read how horrific his writing is that people that the courts still use. Now, one thing I know for sure that I can talk about while I'm looking this up, there are standards. There's evidentiary standards for. Um, there are evidentiary standards for expert testimony to be admitted into evidence. And those standards are usually the Dober and Fry, I think is how it's said, Dober and Fry. I'm not sure. I'm sure Attorney Davis would know better than me how to say it. I just know how to read it. Um, but basically, what Dober and Fry say is that for expert witness testimony to be, or a theory to be accepted into the courts, it has to, it has to be of scientific foundation. So even the American Psychological Association guidelines say that forensic experts in court are supposed to only base their reports on scientific foundation. So anyone that's using Richard Gardner's theory is already in violation, because Richard Gardner is not scientific information. He was a theory. He was discredited. He was shown by the courts to be a fraud. But furthermore, the scientific method, if you remember being a kid in elementary school, you learned about the scientific method. And the scientific
Right.
method was you create your theory, you test it, and you use a population large enough that it has reproducibility and it's reliable, and all of that's part of the scientific method, and that's how you get scientific research.
Mm-hmm.
So Richard Gardner's theory does not hold to Dolbear or Fry because it has to be reproducible and reliable. And we know that Richard Gardner's theory is not reliable because kids end up in actual custody of pedophiles, and children get murdered when the courts use this theory. So it is not a reliable theory, therefore does not meet Dolbear and Fry standards to be accepted by the courts as scientific evidence,
Correct.
scientific research. But the
Yep.
family courts, like you said, Miss G, because you're right, the family courts routinely allow this bogus theory because it manufactures a false pretense to allow them to create a record and a narrative to sex traffic children and make men and women fight amongst ourselves and create
There you
more
go.
chaos that they monetize from.
Right. And then all of a sudden CPS becomes involved. So you always see high conflict cases when the man and the woman didn't get along and the court makes it worse. And then CPS jumps in to save the day. And you know what saving the day means, taking the children or the child from the parents. And then the parents fight some more and then they lose custody of the child altogether. And that's
Right.
exactly, it's all in cahoots together: family court, juvenile court, criminal court. All these people are in one hand controlling the whole population of parenthood. And that's exactly what it is. I call it parenthood, not, I think there's another name for parenthood, but I guess I meant to say parents' rights. There you go. Parents' rights. They're controlling parental rights. And if we don't stand up and talk about it, I mean, be a voice for all parents, this is never going to change. This is going to be another video, and nothing is happening. And that's exactly why all Americans, I think all over the United States, needs to be aware that the system is broken when it comes to parental rights. There is no such thing as parental rights. For God's sakes, there is no such thing as freedom of speech either. It seems to be, because I can't vocal exactly what I want to say, because YouTube will shut me up. YouTube will send me a notification or uh, a warning. You know what I mean? So basically, they're trying to shut us up. So what are we gonna do? Are we gonna stand up all together, or are we gonna just tell all moms you're bad moms? That's why you don't have your kids. Are we gonna tell all dads you're a bad dad? That's why you don't have your kids? Or are we gonna get to the root of the problem, which is the government?
I was on Darren's show the other night, Miss G, and he had twin sisters who did have a bad mom. She was drug addicted. And
You were on whose show? That's Vincent's show, sweetie.
yes, it is Vincent's show. I was on with
I'm not.
Darren. You're right. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Okay,
And
go ahead.
and he had twin sisters that were on, and they had the blessed fortune of having an actual good foster home. And the mother was drug addicted, and the mother was the problem in this situation. And the mother even tried to, I don't know if it was commit suicide or somehow, kill her twins in utero. And but they were born and they lived. Um, but that story, CPS was forcing those kids to go back with that drug addicted mother, knowing that she was still an active addict, and she didn't even know if her kids were home from school or not. And my point of that is that was like, it was like a token case and a horse and pony show for CPS to pretend like when you give custody back to parents, this is what happens. Meanwhile, there's all these suitable parents that are waiting to have their kids back, but CPS chooses, for the example, to be an unsuitable parent to pretend like this is what happens when they give custody back to parents.
This is not gonna, nothing, none of this is gonna change. None of this is gonna change unless we take a stand all together. I'm being honest with you. So, but not everybody has it. Not everybody's story is the same as those young ladies, you know.
Well,
But the
that's what I'm
thing,
trying to say, Miss G. I think that they used that, they made a token out of that situation to make it look like when they try to give kids back, this is what happens.
right,
But in reality, there's all these suitable parents that are waiting, and they chose that situation because it makes no sense when there's all these suitable parents that want their kids back.
right,
Makes no sense to pick the worst of the worst to give their kids back.
right.
So
But
you can tell, you can know that that was just a horse and pony show to make
but
it look like they tried, but this is what happens.
but they're choosing the worst of the worst because that's where they want the children to be, with the worst of the worst. That's basically what it is. That's all
Yeah.
it is. They see.
Yeah. Right.
They don't want the children to grow up in a healthy environment. They want the children to, I don't know.
And imagine that, Miss G. Imagine being those actual good foster parents, right? Because when those girls were sent back to their drug addicted mother, those foster parents were still there to make sure they were okay.
Right, right.
Imagine being those foster parents where you're an actual good foster parent, and look at the damage they did to those foster parents who cared about those girls and their welfare, and they had to witness this too.
But we have clients who are foster parents. That's what I'm trying to
Mhm.
tell you. We have clients who are foster parents. They're actually not bad. They just got burned because they were siding with the parents. The
Right.
foster parents that we have were actually saying the mother is a good mom. The
But
kids
see,
are
that's
not
what
afraid of
happens, Miss
her.
G.
Huh?
But see, that's what happens. They get burned when they notice that the biological parents are good parents.
Yes, but then they
They
remove
get
the kids
burned.
from them. Yeah, they remove the kids from them and put the kids in a new foster home. So basically, they're punishing the foster parents by speaking the truth and then moving the kids to a foster home. Basically says you're not going to have a voice. That's what it tells the kids. You're not going to have a voice. You're not going to be getting it your way. It's going to be their way or no way. That's exactly what happens in the system. So I used to think all foster parents are bad. But honestly, there are some good ones out there. They are.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
they actually speak in the truth about the parents and fighting to get the children back to them, meaning in a nice way or in a healthy way, in a legal way, saying, hey, so children are not abused. So none of the stuff that you told us is happening in our home. The children cry out for their mom and dad. The children said they never said they were abused or hit or hungry or no food in the home. The children showed me pictures of how they lived, and it was, there was no abuse whatsoever. So basically, the foster parents are beginning now, or some of them, not all of them, they're beginning now to open up their eyes and say, hey, this is not right. What's
But they
going
do
on
get
here? Yeah.
sabotaged for that because they'll get threatened because then CPS comes back to them and says, "Oh, you're supposed to be confidential about everything and you're not being confidential. We'll come sue you now for not being confidential." So they
No,
threaten the good ones.
right. Or they will take their license away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening with a few. So they take their license away from them, and they're making excuses as to why they're taking their license, is that they failed to protect. How in the hell did they fail to protect when they're telling you the children are not abused? The children are not abused by the parents. That's crazy.
The dehumanizing system, Miss G.
I know it's dehumanizing. Uh, anyways, tomorrow, God
Dehumanizing
willing,
services.
yeah. So tomorrow we're gonna do the show. Hopefully, I know you're gonna keep it this time. Commitment. The color of law. You have a lot to say about that. The color of law tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope to see people watching that, and I hope you guys share with people who do not have a CPS case and give them awareness. We need people, a lot of people that don't have CPS cases, to understand how the system works. And if they have any questions, they can talk to me or Stacy. Um, if you guys want to talk to Stacy, I have her email address or email information. And maybe we need to get Stacy an email so people can communicate with her as well. So my email address is gat@vincentwdavis.com. My direct work number, which is also a cell, 626-631-8901. All right. So Stacy, you want to say your last final words?
Um, just watch for this watch this post on your Facebook page, because I'll put some of the Richard Gardner things for people to read, because
That's beautiful.
I wasn't able to get onto the site to read them, but I'll post them to this show. So just look in the comments section on Facebook under the Vincent Davis page on
Yes,
Facebook.
on this show right here. Yes, that's
Yep.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can see, if you didn't know before this show how bad Richard Gardner is, wait till you read the stuff that he published and the courts were relying on and continue to rely on, even though it's already been proven that this is bogus.
Unfreaking believable. This is very important to discuss. I think we need to discuss this on Davis's show as well tonight.
Yeah.
Because we need to discuss this guy because it's still happening right now. It didn't stop. It
Well,
didn't stop.
I'll try and get these things posted on here to this show in the comments section, and then they can hopefully be there for your show tonight, so you can read them as you
Okay.
discuss. The guest coming on this Saturday, Richard Ducote, and discuss how culpable, evil Richard Gardner was.
Yep. We're gonna discuss that with him on the seminar Saturday. We're
Yes,
gonna
that would be
mention his
great.
name. That's gonna be
Yep.
great. All right,
Yep.
awesome. Thank you for joining me again today. Love you so much. And
Love
we'll
you too, Miss G.
see you tonight at 7 and see you tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Bye everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you. Bye, Miss G.